Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is the most wonderful time of the year again. Banlist predictions are back. So in the regular old Tatsym style, I'm gonna do a prediction first, what I actually think will happen. And after that, I'm just gonna cause chaos and give you guys my wish list. That's arguably way better than what we will be getting, but I'm not a Konami employee. So yeah, that is what it is. So starting off with the prediction, this is what I 100% genuinely, truthfully think Konami will be doing this ban list. So I have 5 banned cards, which is a lot, but I can explain. The first one is Arch Nemesis Protoss. I think that since Sword Soul is one of the newest decks out there, they do not want to touch Sword Soul. But if they go touch all the other decks in significant ways, which is what I am presuming they will do, they are going to have to touch this deck. Otherwise, we'll be just in a very obnoxious world where everyone just plays Sword Soul with Protoss on the main. So if you just take out the Protoss, you do not hurt the identity of the deck or future support or card design space, etc. So I think that Protoss, it's just really good, and I think that in the near future, if we hit other decks, people are gonna go to that card even more. So let's just straight up prevent that from happening. Second card is Artifact Sight. Yeah, this card has been a problem for ages now. It was played even back in Cosmo format when people monster Call of the Haunted sites after using Sanctum Summon. This is just a floodgate that you can not really do anything about, and let's be realistic here. DPE is here to stay. It's gonna stay for a little longer. I do not think there will be any touches to the DPE package or engine. So the only other logical way of dealing with the problem of not being able to play in your turn and being like so obnoxiously hard locked out of like playing your deck is to get rid of Sight. Then we have one spell on the ban list, and that is Mystic Mine. Now I'm a hater and a lover of this card. I like the fact that you can mind game your opponent into thinking you're playing a combo deck, and then game 2 just activating Mystic Mine from your side. I think that that's like cool, and I like the mind games. But nowadays we have reached the point where just mid-range decks are playing this card, and especially if they ban a certain trap card some decks are also using now, it's going to be very difficult to out or to fight with decks that play this deck just randomly. And it doesn't feel great to just main deck one Cyclone because people can run this card. I think that this card has been a problem for long enough, and I think that they will finally be getting rid of it now that it is seeing deck play in like just regular decks, which probably wasn't the design space of this card. Then we have 2 trap cards to be banning. The first one is Imperial Order, which is the trap I was talking about earlier. Now it's going to be difficult for them to admit that they errata a card wrong. I'm still not really sure if they're gonna touch this one. I think they should, and I think that for the general health of the game, the objectivity of the game, I think that banning this card is definitely necessary. But I'm not sure if they're gonna admit that the errata they did on the card was wrong. So this is a difficult one, but I think it is a fair one to ban Order at this point. I mean, everyone is complaining about it. I mean, we might see the Fireball strategy where we can complain for a year and then it will get banned at the end of the year. But yeah, for now. What is this card doing legal? At 1, honestly, what is it still doing here? And then the last card we will be touching is something that people might not really expect. I expect a ban of Harpy's Featherstorm. This card is very similar to all the previous cards. I think that this ban list could be a list that just completely shuts down all the cancerous cards that just say that you cannot really do anything and there is really nothing you can do about it. For example, if a Sight resolves, you can't do anything. If Protoss resolves, you can't do anything about it. If Order resolves, it's gonna be very difficult for you to do anything about it. And RP's Featherstorm has 1 out, and that's Red Reboot. asking your opponent to draw the outs is like very bad. So I was thinking of maybe limiting this card, but then it would just be a sucky one-off. So I think that this card, now that it's being seen play in Lyridisk Tribrigade, but also in Flow on Reese, I think that if you just keep this up, then the Lyridisk Tribrigade deck could be too good. Now I am touching it a little bit more, so it might be too much, but even then I think that this is just a super obnoxious card to exist in the game now that it's finally seeing play. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it if it's not straight up addressed right now. I do not think you can advocate for this card to stay. I do not think this is healthy game design. I think that it's just fine to get rid of this card completely. Then I have 3 cards that go to limited. Now the idea behind this specific limit list is to, if we touch all the meta decks like we just did, Sword Soul, Lyridisk Tribrigade, and PK, then we do have to touch some of the other popular strategies. So the first thing that I will be limiting is Tribrigade Shrike, the Ominous Omen. Reason I am limiting this card is to prevent people from going back to Tribrigade, which is a deck that they have earned their money for. It has been out for such a long while. The deck is very cheap now. A limit to the Shrike means that the Rescue Cat builds become significantly worse, because you cannot just like Fractal, send Kit, send 4 to the grave, summon Shrike, link it away for Farragut, summon Cat by searching with Shrike. Because if you do that, then you don't have to follow up after Revolt. And speaking about just Revolt, it's either this one or Revolt, but I think that limiting this one will make the deck way more bearable and fair, but still playable. And if we limit something like Revolt, it's gonna be it's still gonna be able to resolve. And if we limit something like Fractal, I think that the identity of the deck will be hurt too much, and I just do not think it's necessary to make Tribrigade unplayable. What is necessary to be made unplayable is the other card that I will be limiting. This is Lyridisk Residual Starling. Now this card, yeah, I have a theory. I do not think that Konami wants Lyridisk Tribrigade to be a deck. The reason for this is it just doesn't fit into the... Like, if we look at the previous years, like every time that a deck came out of a special set, we basically had like 2 decks already and then a lot of meta decks right now. And it's kind of weird that this deck just came out of a side set. I think it's kind of an oversight. I did not expect... I think they did not expect this deck to do so well. So I do not think that they care about keeping it alive. Which is why I think that the ban on the Storm, the limit on the Shrike, and then the limit on the Residual will still make the deck playable, but it's nowhere close to what it is now. And I also do not think that this is one of the decks that should be relevant in the meta, because even though it's a lot of fun to play, it's very bad to play against, especially if you just have like a bad matchup. This deck just like does way too much. It's way too strong going first, and it's also way too strong going second, and the recovery of this deck is just insane. I think that this deck is like miles above everything else that we're playing right now, even though it's not winning anything. I think it's pretty fair to say that they do not care about this deck, so it's pretty much fine to get rid of it. The last card I am limiting is Magical Meltdown. This is just a very, very, very broken card, not being able to respond to the summon of the monsters, not being able to negate the fusion spells. Yeah, it's also just a consistency hit for the Dogmatica invoked decks that are out right now that a lot of people are still playing. I saw a lot of success at the YCS. It's just like the smallest thing I think you can do to the deck and still be fine. Still have triple Alistair and a Meltdown, but you just do not have like 7 Alistairs anymore with the terraforming. Yeah, that's fine. And for the unlimits, basically standard, we have Scrubba Joker, Nessie, and Italy. All the cards that went to 2 previous Banlist can just go to 3. Maybe they'll keep Italy at 2, probably not. But I think that the Joker and the Nessie will be able to go back. And I think that once those are at 3 and there are no issues, which probably are not the case, then on the next ban list, we're gonna see a lot of different cards going back to semi-limited. It's just kind of weird to just put Nessie at 3 and then just unlimiting another danger. They usually don't do that. They usually do it in like waves. Like make a card go to 2, then go to 3, and then get another card going to 2. So I do not think that we will be seeing any semi-limits lists. So that's my prediction. That's what I think that Konami will do. That's like 5, 8, it's 11 cards on the list. Not too much. I don't think we we need a slaughter list right now. I think that all the decks are kind of fair. I think that addressing a little bit of the problem should be fine. And I think that what Konami usually does is like they just like get rid of decks that have been here for a long time or that are just too powerful or not in their design space. So I think that with this prediction I did get a pretty good shot at what I think they're going to do. So yeah, can't wait to see in 1 month how I was completely wrong and they just ban a million cards. But now, the wish list. Starting off with a lot of banned cards, we have Protoss banned for previous reasons. Destiny Hero Celestial banned, so we can keep DPE and Fusion Destiny alive, but the package will just not be as good. Sight banned, Mystic Mind banned, Harpy's Fighter-Storm banned, Called by the Grave banned. Seki one-off, just put it at 3 or put it at 0, and I'd rather have 0 at this point. Order banned, I read Reboot banned, Seki one-off that can auto-win the game. It needs to go. It's either at 3 or at 0, and at 3 it's like ridiculous, so let's just straight up ban it. For the limited section, Astrograph Pendulum can finally get support. Tatsym finally recognizes that Pendulum is a deck, and finally unbans it on one of his predictions. There's more Pendulum stuff coming, so stay tuned. Blaster Dragon Ruler of Infernos is easily the worst Dragon Ruler out of the 4, next to Tidal, so it can just come back. Cyberjar, Fiberjar, both to 1. You're playing Flip Monsters in 2021, go ahead. Lunalight Tiger to 1, just a fun deck, doesn't really do anything. There was no reason to get this deck banned anyway, because we literally had Emancipator as the very first release after, which is just a way better deck, so I just bring it back to 1 and see what happens, especially with Tank Hit 1. Masterpiece, still convinced that like this is not a problem at all, as long as you keep Diagram and Card of Demise banned, or at 1. Orchestra Harper, everyone just wants it back, so let's just bring back TOS format, pretty fine. Tidal Dragon Ruler of the Waterfalls, still not as good as, I think that like the only good Dragon Ruler is Redox for those decks, but I think that Tidal Water is just dead right now. You do have this Stealth Kraken deck, but that will probably not play this card at all, and it's only really good in Mermals, but that deck doesn't really exist. Recital Starting for the same reasons as before, Shurake Omen for the same reasons before, Meltdown for the same reasons as before, and then the last card will be Dead Grass looks greener. If you do not think that grass can come back nowadays, we don't have snow, we don't have any good graveyard decks. Bidding 3 Conquistador is just way too big of a risk for Eldritch to play. And yeah, grass at 1 should be fine, will be fun to deck build again. Then I have cards on the semi-limited list. I think it is ridiculously funny to put consistency cards at 2, so the decks become a little bit more inconsistent and a little bit less than what we've seen before. But first we're starting off with Pendulum unban, unhit, Servant of Endymion to 2 to kind of give Pendulum a little bit more cards, because that is pretty much just dead now. I think it's also kind of confirmed that we will never see Electromite back with the new Pendulum monster, Link monster that has been announced. So yeah, just bring back a couple of Pendulum cards, maybe see if we can play that mechanic again. Dynamite Knight to 2, as long as you keep Diagram at 1, it's gonna be completely fine. Gazelle to 2, Circle will never come back from 1, but Gazelle can easily go back to 2, even 3. Then we have Nadir Servant, Virtual World, Kowloon City, Sword Soul Emergence, all to 2, for similar reasons, just to notch down the power level of the decks a little bit consistency-wise. Last card to put to 2 is Gateway of the 6. I would like to see what people do with this and play through Nibiru. Honestly, don't think 6-sum would be any good. For the unlimited list, Scrubba Joker, as before, Infernity Arcfiend. Well, why is this still on there? Relic Darkness Meta Dragon has been errated. Tempest, Dragon Ruler of the Storms, it's also a 3D OCG and it doesn't really do anything at all. Yatagarasu, literally too slow to be able to be seeing play. Nessie, Mirage Stalio can just go to 3, why is it still at 1? Italy, Draco Face Off, more Pendulum support. Finally, a Banlist prediction where Tatsym says that Pendulum can come back. You all have been asking for it. Well, there you go. It's gotta be the last time. Scapegoat to 3, OCG just did it as well, it's not gonna do anything. Spiral Resort to 3, Spiral is dead as long as you keep Master Plan banned, so we can just give back Spiral Resort. Trickstar Light Stage to 3 is completely fine, Trickstar's a dead deck anyway. The last card we put to 3 is Time Seal, which is like Yata, but then even worse. Was that everything? I think we're missing a card. Alright. Thunder Dragon Colossus, 2-1. I honestly, if there was a ban list, it would have come back. It would have been the previous ban list. Definitely not the one I had. So this is a big wish list. Like on all the other cards that are on this list, I genuinely believe that they can all just come back. I am just not feeling Colossus this list. I don't know why, I'm just not feeling it this list. He's not coming back this list. But I want him to be back. So Konami, if you're watching this, which you are, just unban it. Don't put it at 2, that's a problem. Put it 2-1, it will be funny. Yeah, what does your prediction and your wish list look like? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.